The road to 100K, day 11, part 2. There was a lot of crazy hands this session, so let's get right into it. The first hand I want to show you, I called under the gun. One opponent raises, and we will see the big blind calls. And on the flop, I picked up a monster draw. I checked, hoping to see a free card. But if anyone were to bet, I was willing to call. So Lotto bets, the big blind calls, and therefore I call as well. On the turn, I did not hit the flush, but I did pick up a gutter straight draw. Now, if a jack comes out, I have the nut straight. So, a diamond or a jack, both my opponents check. They gave me a free card, and as we see, I hit the nuts on the river, and there was only one option at this point to re raise and hope my opponent has a smaller flush that he would call with, or possibly queen jack. But unfortunately, my opponent folds, but that's okay because I picked up a nice pot early on. The next hand in the session, I'll admit, I went a little bit crazy here. I loved my hand. I was feeling lucky. So I called the raise with 9-8-7-7. And I loved the position I was in. So after I called the raise, there was a re-raise and then another re-raise. Here is the part where I should have folded, but something in me was like, we just need to play this hand, shove it, go all in, let's gamble. And so I did it. I shoved, I re-raised all in. Luckily for me, Duff Gordon folded and we were able to play strictly heads up. I was okay with that. Surprisingly, my opponent called with even a worse hand. Ace, Queen, 7, 2. And luckily, I ran this twice because I would have lost the first run. I do win the second run. And at the end of the day, we end up splitting the pot. It was a crazy play by me. I know that. But sometimes you need to gamble. So I gambled. Here's another hand I played ultra aggressive. I have no idea what got it into me in this session, but I re-raised the original bet, and on the flop comes out 5-5-4. The perfect flop for me to continuation bet because if my opponent has 4 high cards, there's no way they can call my continuation bet. And just like that, I picked up another nice pot.
That was easy.
Here's a hand I might get criticized for, but I need to explain what I was thinking. So, on the flop, I end up hitting a flush draw. Instead of checking, I end up betting because I want to see what my opponents would do if I bet half the pot on the flop. And we will see that Lotto re-raised. At this point, I was putting Lotto on trips. The reason why I was putting Lotto on trips is because there's no reason for him to re-raise if he has a flush draw or a straight draw. He would simply call and try to hit his card on the turn. But raising made me to believe he was scared of the flush draw or the straight draw, and he was trying to take the pot down right there, right now. And when the 5 of hearts comes out, I do have the nut flush, but if he did have trips, now he has a full house and I am drawing dead. And that was my thinking in this hand. And that is why I end up folding this hand, is because I put him on trips on the flop. And therefore, I can't call the bet on the turn. And that's what happens in this hand. The very next hand in the session, I have King Jack 8-4 in the big blind, and we will see the dealer raised. So when the dealer raises, that did not scare me at all because he could be playing position. On the flop, I hit middle pair with the flush draw, so I simply call to see what the turn would bring out. And there we go. I end up hitting the flush along with trips so I can fill up on the river. I check one more time because I knew that Poker Dude would raise, and my plan was to re-raise. I did not believe Poker Dude had the flush on the turn because he continuation bet and he was in position. I just had a feeling he was trying to take down the pot, and my instincts were right because after I re-raised, Poker Dude folded, and I picked up a nice pot once again. The very next hand, I pick up Ace King 9 8. The dealer once again raises, so I call, and on the flop, I hit a monster draw, King High flush draw. I wish it was the Ace High flush draw, but I check the flop, I check the turn because I don't have a made hand yet. There's no point of building up the pot. I want to play pot control, but I had to call the bet on the turn. And when I do, the river brings out the flush. I check the river, hoping the dealer would bet once again, and I can call. I miss an opportunity to get more value out of this hand because the dealer checked behind me. So in this situation, I did lose value. I was scared of the ace high flush, but I should have still bet on the river.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Here we have a hand where I have no idea what my opponent was playing. After Poker Dude raise, I decide to re-raise because I'm in position and I have a very strong hand. We have Lotto that calls, Poker Dude that calls, and after I hit top two pair on the flop, I wanted to play this very aggressive just in case my opponent has a straight draw like a 9 8 7 in their hand. Lotto calls, and we will see that Poker Dude folds. When the four of diamonds comes out, that is the perfect turn card. So I bet huge because now there's a flush draw. But more importantly, if my opponent called my bet on the flop, they should call on the turn. But Lotto folds when the four comes out, which confused me because I have no idea what he is calling with unless he specifically had 9 8 7 in his hand. And here we are, the last hand of the session. I end up having ace, queen, jack 2 and hit trips off the flop. And here's the benefits of slow playing. After my opponent bets on the flop, I simply call. When the 10 comes on the turn, I end up checking to show that my hand is weak, that I don't have a hand. So I check. When the river comes out a 6, the perfect river card, my opponent checks. Now I have to bet. And because I only called the flop and I checked the turn, my opponent re-raised. Perfect. I did not re-raise just in case my opponent did hit a straight. So I simply call, but all my opponent had was a flush draw and a pair. So I end up getting paid off more than I should have because I only called the flop and because I checked the turn. So when I bet the river, it made my opponent feel like I was trying to steal the pot, which made him re-raise. And there we go. I end up picking up a nice pot at the end of day 11. And just like that, we have eclipsed the 1K mark. So stay tuned and keep watching the road to 100K because the journey has just begun.